Good morning, traders. Today is Thursday, August 26th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Okay, well, to my shock and surprise, the overnight last night just rotated. Okay, so this is a further sign that the market is just balancing right now. It didn't feel that way in the first part of yesterday because we pushed up there very rapidly and got a new all-time high. But the rest of the day just rotated. The overnight market just rotated. So whilst the trend is up, value was higher. So there is definitely a bullish trend to it. It feels still very rotational. It doesn't feel like we've quite broken out of the need to balance off all the excess that we created pushing up into here. So my MO for today is pretty much exactly the same as yesterday. We're opening inside the previous day's range. So I'm going to assume that there's going to be some chop early in the morning here, and I'm not going to be looking for trades right away. I'll be letting the market work itself out here for a little bit and then give me a better idea of what it's trying to do. There is strong support and resistance on either side of the current price right here. So all of this trade from the overnight in here, all the volume and time that the market spent right around this level here could act as support during the morning chop this morning. And then this resistance from the overnight and the regular trading hours up in here could act as this area here where there was a lot of volume could act as resistance. So essentially the market could kind of bounce around between these two for a little bit. Whichever direction they kind of break through, so if they get down into this area or up into this area, I'd be ready to take trades in that direction. So essentially, if the market this morning were to push its way above this node of volume over here, okay, and then come back down and it starts to find support in that area, I would go long for continuation higher. If it pushes into there and it finds resistance, it can't get up above that, that would be a short, okay, monitoring for continuation to the downside, but keeping in mind there's a lot of support right here. So this is not a short you'd want to fall in love with. You'd want to be ready to take profits right away. And then if the market pushes through this node of volume, and again, it's kind of because there's been so much rotation, there's not exact levels, but if it kind of pushes through, call it like 86 level, I would look for a short as well down to repair the poor low left behind yesterday. Okay, and then monitor for continuation from there. So if it gets down to that poor low, gets a few ticks below it, finds support, that is a long trade. Higher, if it pushes below, comes back up, finds resistance, that is a short trade. So I know that's a lot of stuff to take in all at once. The general idea is that a market will rotate as long as it needs to rotate. And whilst it's doing that, you can either take reversion to the mean trades, where essentially you go short there and then long there, or you can take breakout trades. So you wait for the market to break out one direction or the other, or you wait for it to fail and then take the reversion to the mean. These are the kind of two trades that you can take here. And my point is that we are in a very, very tight range. So whichever way the market breaks out of here is likely to present you with the best trade here. One of these two, because these reversion to the mean trades, it's going to be a very, very tight range in here. Okay. I would definitely say this is more bullish than bearish. So once again, exactly the same as yesterday. If the market were to have some kind of liquidation break, to me, it would be highly buyable. And I'd be looking for support either around the half back from the 23rd, which is at 47.70, or at the base of the single prints at 44.6750. Okay. The market is open. So essentially, the way the market's been moving the last few days is rotational. It is absorbing the excess that was created, but it feels bullish that it wants to break out to the upside. It seems like the market's just waiting for more information, probably when Jerome Powell speaks tomorrow. But of course, anything can happen at any moment. Yeah, we'll take a look at the NQ. Let's just watch the ES for a bit. I like to watch the first couple minutes here and just see how it's moving. So, Charles, if you got a poor low down there and a weak reference left behind from the day before, why don't you assume that the market wants to repair those before it pushes higher? I normally would. I'd have my eyes, eagle eye, watching very closely on that low. But it's interesting what happened with the overnight here, that they literally only came in for one time period. Let's expand this out. Yeah. So they grinded down lower. They literally just came down to this level and tested it. And then, boom, instantly they traded higher and rotated higher for the rest of the day. And they created almost like a 45-degree angle with their lows here. So again, not technically a 45-degree, but very similar to. And so that just tells me there's a lot of support in this area. Okay. Good morning, Rad. Good to see you. Welcome. Arcaleon in the house. What up? MK, good morning to you. JL99 back with us. Thumbs up from the NK. Thank you so much. Please smash the like button. That thumbs up is a huge help to the channel, and I'm trying to get my numbers up. Trying to get back up to 200 plus a day. And this is the way. Mediterra, good morning to you. Espaco, good morning to you. Donkey, I forgot to monetize again. Maybe it just didn't show you an ad. I don't think it shows everyone an ad every time. Jose, good morning to you. Tom, good to see you. And Shubaho Deep back with us. Good morning to you. Ronald and Margot, good morning to you guys as well. Welcome. All right. Well, yeah, we're just stuck in a real tight range here with the morning chop. So let's go over and take a look at the NQ. Okay, so the NQ is still rotational. It was kind of channeling higher, and they broke that in the overnight. But this still just feels like absorbing the excess, almost exactly the same as the ES. Not quite as bullish yesterday. Their value was still overlapping to higher, but ours was completely higher on the ES. So that's slightly more bullish. But yeah, I'd say the NQ and the ES are pretty tightly pegged at the moment. Both slightly bullish, but waiting for a catalyst to get a big push higher. Alark, good morning to you. Welcome. SW is this. I'm not sure what that means. Ah, yeah, the software, it's Window Trader. Window spelled without a W at the end. Marco says, don't get fooled by the counter auction. I don't think there's much of a counter auction in here. Technically, more of the inventory would have been short than long. But it's pretty rotational. So once again, we're looking for support kind of right at the bottom of where these nodes fall off, right around this area. Getting below that, trying to come back up and finding resistance increases the odds we need to repair that poor low down there. And it's the same thing with this node up here on the upper side. Getting above it, coming back down and finding support increases the odds we're going to have some continuation higher. Okay. Anywhere inside this range, the market can just chop up and down and up and down and up and down. Okay, all three internals, a little bit bearish here this morning. Yeah, Donkey, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of more rotation. I still think, though, this market needs a good liquidation break. You know what I mean? Just balances for hours, and then out of nowhere, no one sees it coming. Everyone is shocked. It just starts to fall very rapidly. I think a good liquidation break can kind of get the market moving again. But that's partially my biases as well. Liquidation breaks are great trades for me. So I always kind of want one. Okay, we got bad taper at the high, so that increases the odds just slightly that at some point today the market will trade back up there and get some two-sided trade. At the high and the low. Yeah, Donkey, that's a very real possibility. You know, sometimes the market just needs new information. It needs some kind of signal. And if they're all waiting for that one, that would be the thing, you know. Shubhodip. Is Jerome looking for another term? I assume so. He's got one of the most powerful jobs on planet Earth. People generally don't like to give up power. Power is something that people will hold on to for dear life. So my guess is, yeah, he wants to keep going as long as they'll let him. So for the NQ, same as the ES as I was talking about. If they can get above this node of volume here, look for support after they push above, and that's good for continuation higher, or resistance at this level. Could be a short, but don't fall in love with it because you don't know how far it'll need to pull back. And then same thing with this node down here. If they can get to it, finds resistance, you can go long, but don't fall in love with it. Or if it pushes through, comes back up and finds resistance there. Sorry, finds support and then goes up, or pushes through and then finds resistance. That's a good short going down. Why Flava Flav specifically? Such a random choice. All right. Well, the internals are remaining bearish here. It's a little bit too early to say, particularly for the ticks, but this is that lower end of volume here that's acting as support. So if this breaks and then comes back up and it's not able to pull back up into here where it is now, that could be a short to repair that poor low. Good morning, Fausto. Good to see you, brother. Welcome. Something. Sorry, Mizu. I said it in the first 5 minutes, brother. As long as it stays above this and below this, it's just going to grind around. There's not really much else to say here. You guys can feel free to hit me with some questions that might start a conversation. But otherwise, chop, chop, chop. "66 people watching. Does anyone have a question? Is there anything you're curious about?" Is it a lovely day? Core, what an excellent question. It's always a lovely day in the Pirate Traders room. But yeah, as you guys can see, it is 83 and sunny here in New York City. It's humid as hell. Fausto, is the market going to go up or down? Well, you're leaving out a key possibility, which is the market just goes sideways. That is possible. What platform do I use? Well, this software that you're looking at is called Window Trader, but it's not a platform. It's just software. And then when I take trades, I have a brokerage at AMP Global, and I take them on TradingView is the platform that I use. Donkey, what's a poor low? There's a poor low conversation to be had. I was thinking this morning when I looked at this. I was saying to myself, in my mind, what is the repair of the poor low? Because I normally kind of ignore overnight highs and lows. They're not as important to me as regular trading hours. So I was saying to myself, is the poor low repaired when we get 2 ticks below this week reference, but we'll still be 1 tick away from the overnight low? Or do we need to get 1 more tick and get 2 ticks below the overnight low for it to officially be repaired? And I decided I was going to ignore the overnight and just focus on this week reference from the regular trading hours. So if we can get to 44.80, it's repaired. So there's a poor low conversation for you. Okay, well, we're starting to push down. Let's see if we've got the ticks. Nope, they're above zero line. We're finding support. Marco, yeah, I am. I just don't have it up on my charts right now. Just because I'm staying at this Airbnb with less than ideal internet. I don't want to run Thinkorswim as well, so I just don't conveniently have it in front of me. But yeah, that 20 moving average is definitely still very, very important. Shuba Hodip, what is the market doing? Is it doing a good job? It is rotating, and it is doing a fantastic job. Design knob, what does the POC mean? Point of control. It's another way of looking at it is it's the fairest price to do business. Ooh, David, no, I'm not. That's not a question for me. I don't make predictions about, macro events. I literally just trade intraday what I'm seeing on the chart. And the reason for that has been in the past when I've tried to be a trader who looks at, those sort of larger conceptual ideas and how they might affect the market, I'm often wrong. So I think if if a company is going to have a good report come out, that their stock price will go up, and then instead it goes down. And so then I go, well, wait, what just happened? They had great numbers. They had a great quarter. Why isn't their stock price going up? And then I just didn't understand that it was already priced in. So for me, I just like to watch the market generated information, which is the information in the charts that has already happened. Okay, so we're piercing through these volume nodes down here. So we're looking for the market to find support anywhere inside this lower end of the range here. If it cannot, if it tries to push back up and it can't get up into this area up here, then that is a good short to try to repair that poor low. Okay. Market is now one time framing lower, which is a bearish signal. Also value overlapping to lower, which is a neutral to bearish signal. Internals still not giving us a clear signal one way or the other. Looks like rotation. So now is the moment you're asking yourself, is this resistance? This node of volume over here that has been holding a support, how many times did we just poke down into this? Right? We kept poking and poking and poking and it held as support. Now that we broke through, will it become resistance? If it does, the market is probably trying to go lower. If not, it's just going to continue to rotate. Okay, currently it's finding resistance right at that level. Design up. Do you mean like with 500 others? Still getting resistance. Tick starting to push below the zero line. Increasing the odds. The market needs to push lower here. I'm certainly not going to get bearish until we get below that poor low. Tom, it's the poor low right here at 44.80. 75. Yeah, the B low, today's low is good. I'm referring to the poor low that's down here that we left behind from yesterday. Remember, poor lows are likely to get repaired, have a high probability of getting repaired, but not necessarily the day they're created. Quite often you have to come back a couple of days later and repair it. So we don't forget about a poor low. Once it's created, we keep it in mind that the market needs to repair it. Okay, well, they pushed back up through that resistance. Ticks, I assume, above the zero line. Ooh, not quite yet. Yeah, the W, that's from the overnight, from last night. This low is from yesterday. It's from the regular trading hours. It's poor because it came one tick within a week reference from the day before. Okay? So the M period low from 2 days ago was weak because it came within one tick of that E period low. So we mark that and we remember it and we go, okay, well, that's an important reference. Then the very next day, the market trades down in the A period, immediately finds support there, and then pushes higher for the rest of the day. So we go, oh, wait a minute, something really important is happening at this level. Right? There's a poor low there. Then the overnight comes down once again. As soon as it gets to that level, turns around and never comes back. So this level is very important. There's a lot of weak hands buyers that are doing business here. Let's jump over and take a look at the NQ. Yeah, very interesting. So the NQ had an engulfing B period. So that's like basically just gives you no information. It's just further rotation. But yeah, this looks much more rotational. I mean, this looks rotational too, but it looks like it needs to pull down to find a good low here. Keeping an eye on the ticks. So the way the ticks, there's two different things that I look at. I look at, is it above or below the zero line? But I also look for trends. And so even though it's below the zero line, it is trending higher here. So that to me is sort of a counter signal that feels more like rotation. No. So if the M period, let's expand out that day again. So yeah, literally if the M period had come one tick lower, okay, it would have been a good low. And then yesterday's low would have been a good low because it didn't come it didn't come within a tick of an important previous reference, right? So yeah, yesterday's low would have been good if that M period low was good. But you have to understand what these weak references are telling us. It's telling us who are the participants that bought there, right? So who were the people who bought this pullback in the M period? What were they looking at? They were looking at the exactness of these candlesticks, of this low. So that's a sign they're short-term traders. They got in exactly at that low. So if it was short-term traders that bought this here, right? And then short-term traders that bought this because it was right there, same exact level, right? Short-term traders that bought it again last night. What do short-term traders eventually have to do? They have to take profits. So then that strength that the market has because of their buying disappears, and then the market pulls back down. Donkey, 80 being the balance area low. See, I think it's too early to say. Oh, no, definitely not. No way. That's just weak hands. Like, I would say the highest possible balance area low would be like 76. But even that, I just have a feeling we're going to end up figuring out it's down here. It's going to be the base of these single prints, or it's going to be this halfback. I just have a feeling, man. We're going to get a liquidation and do some business down here and then bounce around. But who knows? I've been wrong before. Okay. Ticks trending higher, back above the zero line. Should be able to push through this resistance and continue to rotate. Tom, no. The only reason that the A period low would be weak or would be a poor low is if if there's another important reference. So we can't just say any low at all that was created that day. That doesn't matter. It's only an important reference. So for me, the important references that I look at is the previous day's highs and lows, right? So if it were to come within a tick of a previous day's high or low, and then weak references that were created within that day. And this is where I'm sorry, I can't give you like a textbook easy answer. Sometimes I look at something like an opening price or a closing price, something like that as potentially an important reference. But okay, so this one's a great example. So if yesterday the A period had just come down to right here, I would have considered it weak because we had the opening and closing price of that day right in the same area. So to me, that would be an important reference, right? So I would have called it a poor low if it had stopped here. But if the same thing happened compared to yesterday's opening or closing price, so if today the market had, let's say that the high came to like, well, it actually almost did come within a tick of our closing price yesterday. Okay, so it's 2 ticks away, but let's say this A period high was just 1 tick away. I wouldn't consider it a poor high. Okay, so I'm sorry I don't have like a clear textbook answer, but I just kind of have developed what seems weak and poor to me over a long, long time of watching the market and creating the habits. If you want to keep it simple, just say previous day high and low or old week references, right? Other than that, it's not weak just because it came within another time period's high or low. And just don't worry about the overnight at all. Just ignore that. All right, well, we're back up through that resistance. We're back above the halfback, so the market remains rotational. Ticks trending higher. Breadth and advancers versus decliners looking rotational. So just still uncertainty. Market hasn't picked a direction yet. All right, well, internals are starting to show buyers stepping in here. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the market wants to go down here. It seems like it's just building up steam to try to push up again. But as I mentioned, it's going to be stuck in this range between here and here until it can properly break out. So breaking out to the downside is getting below and then not being able to get back above. As long as it keeps getting back above, it's just going to keep rotating. Nick, great advice there. Tight chop rotations. It's difficult, but stay patient. That's the thing about this early morning chop. It exists purely to take money from the impatient. If you can wait, there will be opportunities later in the day. Opportunities with higher probabilities and higher certainty. Thank you so much, Mizu. You are awesome. Appreciate you. Okay, so would I short this right now, as I was talking about earlier, to get to the poor low? I would not, believe it or not, just because of the ticks. They're still trending up, and they're still above that zero line. So likely the market is just finding support in here. If we got below that poor low, repaired it, and then found resistance, I would go short for continuation further. But I'll skip the jump from here to here because I think they could find support at any moment. Of course, that'll be reversed if we get that big red tick that breaks the trend. But as long as they keep trending higher, it'll turn around. The price will turn around and go higher. Oh, boy. Well, there you go. Poor low repaired. Looking for support here. No, they want a liquidation break. Ah, all right. Well, I'm going to stay with the stream here for a minute. This is what we've been waiting for, guys. A sweet, sweet liquidation break. Ooh, yes, the fear, the panic. It's beautiful. All these weak hands bought up that poor low, bought up that M period low. They're getting squeezed out of their trade. That set in very quickly. All right, so what makes this a liquidation break? Okay, well, first off, the paper thin volume and the fact that it just came out of the blue, out of nowhere. Okay, so unless somebody has like a news thing that just dropped that caused this, odds are this is happening because of human psychology, right? So they're going to push it down until they find support, which, like I said, I figured would be either the half back here or the base of these single prints at about 44.67. So somewhere in this area. If they do turn around and start heading back up, it's a good long trade because the people who are buying in here are the stronger hands traders. Okay. But you don't want to try to catch the falling knife. You don't want to try to buy right now hoping it's going to find support because it may just continue to liquidate even further. We do have the gap below, right, that people are watching. So you want to wait until it stops going down and then catch it on the way up, which might be right now. Geez, that was quick. So once you get a liquidation break, what you look for is this right here, pink candles to start to show up. That is a sign of sellers piling on. Right, so we look back at the ticks and we see, are the sellers piling on? Nope, they're buying. So we assume it's just going to rotate right back up to where it was when it broke, which was like right about 83. Okay. No, I'm not taking a trade right now because I'm limited to only one monitor, so I'd have to like trade in front of you guys. So I'm just sitting this one aside. But yeah, for me, I would have bought by now. Feels like a liquidation break. Looks like a liquidation break. When they started to build a node of volume, the ticks were above the zero line and getting stronger. So I think we're rotating right back up to where the break started, which we'll call that. I don't remember right where the market was, but it was probably right about here. Whoops. Whoa. Right about where we are now, right? That poor low breaking. So believe it or not, and I know those of you that are new to traders are probably shitting your pants right now, like, what is going on? This is terrible. Look at how far the market just moved. This is actually good for the market. It actually strengthens the market and increases the odds of a push higher, because it shakes out all the weak hands. Okay, great. So we'll just use the single prints as a target to the upside. And we'll just keep an eye on those ticks. Do they continue to push higher? Do they stay above the zero line? Ooh, okay, so news driven. That means it's not a liquidation break. It is still acting as one, though. But that means we could get, if the market deems that as being bearish, we could start to get more sellers piling on here and pushing the price lower. We'll, of course, see that in the ticks. We'll see the ticks push their way back below the zero line. So as long as they stay above, it's just a liquidation break. So if you got in long down here somewhere, definitely a good moment to move your stop above break even. Because the thing with news is you get an initial spike, right? When the algorithms hear it, they read the news lines instantly. They spike it down, but now people will start to get the news and they'll become bearish and then they'll pile on and push lower and lower. Yep, see, tick starting to get below that zero line. That's a sign of sellers. If news, not liquidation break, there always has to be some trigger, real or imagined. Well, no, that's what separates a liquidation break from a news-driven sell-off, right? Like the news-driven sell-off happens when a piece of news comes out that makes the market bearish, right? A liquidation break is a random thing that just occurs random. That's like part of the definition of what makes it a liquidation break is that it is not news driven. So if it had been just a random thing that happened, we probably would have rotated back up to the base of those single prints by now. But the fact that it's news driven means now there's more sellers piling on. So we're likely to get continuation lower until we find good support. Okay. We found support right in the middle of these single prints, so it seems to me better support will be the base of those single prints at 44.67. But unfortunately, guys, with that, I must bid you farewell. It is time to get over into the Brigade private stream. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to trade all day live here on the YouTube. So if you're going to be here tomorrow, you should be able to stick with me all day. But for today, you got to join the Brigade. $10 a month, link in the description. I hope to see you all there. For those of you that are members of the Brigade, give me about 5 minutes and I'll be on that one.